Have you ever stopped to think about how many opportunities you've missed simply because you didn't know what to do at the right moment? How many times have you frozen, stammered, or said the wrong thing when an amazing person was right in front of you? If you could go back in time and redo those decisive moments, what would you change? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The secrets that separate men who naturally attract women from those trapped in the endless cycle of frustration. And no, I'm not talking about manipulative techniques or cheap psychological games. I'm talking about a real profound transformation that will change not only how you relate to others, but who you are as a man. The truth is that most men are playing the wrong game. They think seduction is about what you say, about the perfect pick-up lines, about having the ideal body or the dream car. But let me let you in on a secret that few know. Real seduction, the kind that creates deep and lasting connections, starts long before you open your mouth. It begins in the way you think, how you see yourself, how you position yourself in the world. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to make this transformation happen. First, let's talk about presence. Do you know what true presence is? It's not about being the tallest, strongest, or most handsome in the room. Presence is about occupying your space in the world without apologizing for existing. It's about entering a room and people naturally noticing you arrived, not because you made noise or drew attention to yourself, but because your energy speaks for itself. How many times have you walked into a place and felt invisible? How many times have you wanted to talk to someone but stayed in the corner waiting for the perfect moment that never came? Presence starts with posture. And I'm not just talking about standing up straight, although that's important. I'm talking about a mental, emotional posture. It's about believing you deserve to be where you are, that you have value to offer, that your presence adds something to the environment. When you truly embody this, your body naturally adjusts. Your shoulders relax, but remain upright. Your gaze becomes firm but not aggressive. Your movements become more fluid and confident. But here comes the first obstacle that most men face, the inner voice that says you're not good enough. That annoying little voice that keeps comparing you to all the other men and always finds something you're lacking. This voice is your worst enemy in seduction. It sabotages every attempt you make before you even begin. And the worst part is that you feed this voice every day without realizing it. Every time you compare yourself on social media, every time you belittle yourself mentally, every time you accept less than you deserve, you're strengthening this internal saboteur. Now tell me something. Do you really think a woman wants to be with a man who doesn't believe in himself, who constantly compares himself and puts himself down? Of course not. Women have a natural radar for detecting insecurity, and there's no amount of cologne or expensive clothes that can disguise it. Insecurity oozes from your pores, your body language, the tone of your voice, the nervousness in your eyes. So how do you build this authentic presence? It starts with small daily challenges. Every day, you're going to do something that takes you slightly out of your comfort zone. It could be starting a conversation with a stranger, expressing your opinion in a meeting, or simply maintaining eye contact longer than you normally would. The important thing is to gradually expand your limits, proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you imagine. And here's a secret that few understand. Rejection is your best friend in this process. Yes, you heard that right. Every no you receive is an opportunity for growth, a chance to strengthen your emotional resilience. The problem is that most men are so afraid of rejection that they prefer not to try at all. They get stuck in fantasy, imagining perfect scenarios that never materialize. But let me tell you something. The pain of rejection lasts a few minutes, maybe a few hours. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Second, let's talk about authentic communication. Most men think they need a script, prepared phrases, elaborate techniques. But the truth is that the best conversation is one that flows naturally, comes from the heart, and expresses who you truly are. The problem is that fear makes us create characters, masks that we think will protect us or make us more attractive. But these masks always fall, and when they do, the disappointment is devastating. Authentic communication begins with listening. Yes, before speaking, you need to learn to truly listen. Not that superficial listening where you're just waiting for your turn to speak, thinking about what you're going to say next. I'm talking about deep listening where you're genuinely interested in what the other person has to say, where you pick up not only the words, but the emotions behind them, where you ask questions that show you're paying attention. Do you know what the greatest aphrodisiac is? Genuine attention. When you truly care about what someone is saying, when you show genuine interest in the other person's story, dreams, and fears, you create a connection that goes far beyond the surface. But this requires you to silence your ego for a moment, to stop thinking about how to impress and start thinking about how to connect. And here comes another crucial point. Vulnerability, the word that makes most men shudder. We've been taught that men don't cry, that men don't show weakness, that men have to be strong all the time. But this armor that we create to protect ourselves ends up isolating us. True strength lies in being able to show yourself as human, to admit when you don't know something, to share your fears and insecurities appropriately. I'm not saying you should pour out all your traumas on the first date. I'm talking about calibrated vulnerability, where you allow yourself to be real without being heavy, where you show your imperfections without victimizing yourself, where you share your struggles in a way that inspires connection and not pity. When you do this, you give permission for the other person to let their guard down as well. And that's where the magic happens. Let me tell you about a mistake I see constantly. Men who confuse being nice with being interesting. They think that by being super agreeable, agreeing with everything, never having their own opinion, they'll win someone over. But the opposite happens. This behavior screams desperation and lack of personality. Women don't want a doormat. They want a partner, someone with substance, with opinions, with their own passions. This doesn't mean being rude or disrespectful. It means having clear boundaries, knowing how to say no when necessary, expressing disagreement respectfully, having your own interests and priorities. When you act like this, you show that you have your own life, that you're not desperate for approval, that you can add value to a relationship instead of just draining energy. And speaking of energy, let's go to the third fundamental point: purpose and passion. Nothing is more attractive than a man who knows where he's going, who has clear goals, who is building something in life. He doesn't have to be a millionaire businessman or a famous athlete. He could be a teacher passionate about education, a mechanic who loves cars, a chef dedicated to his art. The important thing is to have something that moves you, that makes you get out of bed with enthusiasm. When you have a clear purpose, when you're focused on building something bigger than yourself, your energy changes completely. You stop orbiting around women as if they were the sun and you were a desperate planet. You become the sun, and you naturally attract people who want to share your warmth and light. But this requires inner work. It requires you to honestly ask yourself what really matters to you, what you want to leave as a legacy. Now tell me, when was the last time you truly dedicated yourself to something? When was the last time you were so absorbed in a project that you forgot to check your phone? When was the last time you felt that fire in your chest of doing something meaningful? If it's been a while, maybe it's time to reassess your priorities. Like this video if you feel you need this change in your life. Comment below which area you think you need to work on the most. Is it presence, communication, purpose? Your participation helps other men who are on the same journey. Let's talk now about something few have the courage to admit: the fear of success. Yes, you read that right. Many men sabotage their own chances because deep down they're afraid of what would happen if they actually succeeded. Fear of the responsibility of maintaining a relationship. Fear of not being good enough when the person gets to know the real you. Fear of having to change your comfort zone. This fear manifests itself in subtle ways. You get the number, but don't call. You schedule a date, but cancel. You're doing well in the conversation, but say something to ruin it. It's as if a part of you prefers the safety of known failure to the uncertainty of unknown success. Recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking it. The truth is that success in relationships requires emotional maturity. It requires you to be willing to be consistent, to show up even when you don't feel like it, to work on problems instead of running away from them, to grow with another person. And that's scary because it's easier to stay on the surface, in the games, in the empty conquests that don't demand anything from you beyond a temporary performance. But let me ask you something. Do you want to spend the rest of your life having shallow connections? Do you want to reach 50, 60 years old and realize you never really connected with anyone? that you always kept people at a safe distance, that you chose the comfort of solitude over the risk of true intimacy. The fourth aspect we need to address is the issue of timing and patience. We live in an age of instant gratification. We want everything yesterday. Match on the app today, date tomorrow, relationship next week. But real, deep, transformative relationships take time to develop. They require patience, emotional investment, a willingness to get to know the layers of the other person gradually. The problem is that most men are in a hurry. They want to skip steps, force intimacy, accelerate the natural process of connection. And what happens? The other person feels the pressure and backs off. It's like trying to make a flower bloom by pulling its petals. You don't accelerate the process, you destroy the flower. True seduction is like cultivating a garden. You prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water consistently, protect from pests, and patiently wait for nature to do its work. Each interaction is a drop of water. Each conversation is a ray of sun. Each shared moment is a nutrient for the relationship to grow. But you can't force growth. You can only create the ideal conditions and trust the process. And that brings just to a crucial point, which is the issue of expectations. How many times have you created a movie in your head about how things should happen? How many times have you been disappointed because reality didn't match your fantasy? Expectations are relationship killers because they prevent you from seeing and appreciating what's really happening in front of you. When you approach someone with a specific agenda, with a script of how things should unfold, you lose the ability to be present, to respond to the moment, to adapt to the natural flow of the interaction. You're so focused on the destination that you miss the journey, and the journey is where the connection really happens. Now let's talk about something that goes against everything you've probably learned about seduction, the importance of being okay alone. Yes, you heard that right. The biggest secret of attraction is not needing it. When you are complete within yourself, when your happiness doesn't depend on having someone by your side, when you genuinely enjoy your own company, you become irresistible. Why? Because you don't radiate desperation. You don't suffocate, you don't pressure. You simply are, and you invite others to share your reality instead of begging to enter theirs. But getting to this point requires serious inner work. It requires you to face your demons, heal your wounds, learn to be your own best friend. How many of you run away from being alone? How many always need noise, distraction, company, so you don't have to face the silence of your own thoughts? This escape is what creates the desperate need for external validation. It's what makes you accept crumbs of attention. It's what keeps you trapped in cycles of toxic relationships. The fifth and perhaps most important aspect is the issue of radical authenticity. We are so used to wearing masks that we forget who we really are. We have a mask for work, one for family, one for friends, one for dating, and amidst so many characters, we lose contact with our true essence. But here's the paradox. The more you try to be what you think others want, the less attractive you become. Because deep down, we all have an authenticity detector. We can sense when someone is being fake, when they're playing a role, when they're trying too hard. And this creates an invisible barrier that prevents real connection. The courage to be yourself, with your qualities and flaws, with your strange passions and irrational fears, with your peculiar sense of humor and controversial opinions. This courage is what creates true attraction. Because when you show yourself completely, you give permission for the other person to do the same. And it is in this space of mutual truth that love blossoms. But being authentic doesn't mean being unfiltered. It doesn't mean pouring out all your neuroses at the first opportunity. It means being strategically genuine, knowing what to share and when to share it, always coming from a place of strength and not neediness. It's the difference between saying you had a difficult childhood as an explanation for your resilience versus using it as an excuse for your negative behaviors. Let's talk now about the power of sexual tension. Many men are so afraid of seeming inadequate that they completely eliminate any sexual energy from their interactions. They become so antiseptic, so politically correct, so neutral, that they end up in the dreaded friend zone before they even begin. Sexual tension is not about being vulgar or disrespectful. It's about recognizing and honoring the natural polarity between masculine and feminine, This tension is created through small gestures, glances that last a second longer, a casual touch that conveys intention, a playful double entendre delivered with class. It's about creating an energetic field where both know there's attraction, but nobody is in a hurry. To resolve that tension, it's like a song that gradually builds, building anticipation for the climax. The mistake many make is wanting to resolve the tension too quickly. They feel the energy and immediately want to act on it. But tension is like a rubber band. The more you stretch it, respecting the limits before it breaks, the more powerful the moment when it finally gives way. Learning to ride this wave of tension without drowning it with anxiety or haste is an art that few master. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss the next videos where I will delve deeper into each of these topics. Share this video with that friend who needs to hear these truths. Now we need to talk about an aspect that is often ignored, the power of mystery. We live in an age of overexposure where we share every thought, every meal, every moment on social media. But mystery is one of the most powerful ingredients of attraction. When you reveal everything at once, when you leave nothing to the imagination, you kill the curiosity that fuels desire. Mystery is not about lying or hiding important things. It's about revealing yourself in layers, like an onion that is gradually peeled. It's about keeping some aspects of your life private, having experiences that are only yours, cultivating a depth that is not immediately apparent. When someone feels there is always more to discover about you, the interest stays alive. Think about the people who intrigued you most in life. They probably weren't the ones who poured out their whole life story on the first date. They were the ones who left questions in the air, who had an aura of unexplored depth, who seemed comfortable with their own secrets. This mystery creates a natural magnetism that invites exploration. The sixth crucial point is about masculine leadership. And before you think I'm talking about machismo or domination, let me clarify. Masculine leadership is about having direction, taking initiative, creating structure and emotional security. It's about being able to make decisions, plan dates, suggest activities, without being controlling or inflexible. Many men today are so worried about not seeming dominant that they completely abdicate any leadership. They're always asking what she wants to do, where she wants to go, what she wants to eat. Although consideration is important, excessive indecision conveys a lack of confidence and direction. Women appreciate a man who can take the lead when necessary, who has opinions and is not afraid to express them. Leadership also means creating a safe emotional space. It means being the rock in times of turbulence, staying calm when she's anxious, offering perspective when she's confused. It's not about having all the answers, but about having the emotional stability to navigate life's uncertainties together. And that leads us to talk about continuous personal development. Seduction is not a destination, it's a journey. The man you are today is not the man you will be tomorrow if you are committed to growth. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every fear you overcome adds a new dimension to your personality. Women are naturally attracted to men in motion, men who are evolving, who have ambitions, who are not stagnant. This doesn't mean you always have to be chasing something. It means having a clear direction and consistently taking steps, however small, toward your goals. But there's a trap here. Some men use personal development as an escape. They're always preparing, always improving, always waiting to be ready before acting. They spend years in the gym waiting for the perfect body, years studying waiting for perfect knowledge, years saving waiting for the perfect financial situation. And while they wait for perfection, life passes them by. The truth is that you will never be completely ready. There will always be something to improve. There will always be an excuse not to act. The secret is to act while improving, to learn by doing, to grow through experience and not just theory. Every interaction is an opportunity for practice. Every rejection is a lesson. Every success is a step to the next level. Let's talk now about something that might be uncomfortable for many, the importance of having high standards. Many men are so hungry for female attention that they accept any crumb that falls from the table. They ignore obvious red flags, tolerate disrespect, settle for much less than they deserve. And do you know what that communicates? Low self-worth. When you have clear standards about the type of person you want in your life, about how you expect to be treated, about what you're willing to accept and what you're not, you automatically position yourself as someone of high value. This doesn't mean being arrogant or inflexible. It means knowing your worth and not compromising it for fear of being alone. High standards also mean being willing to say no, to end situations that don't serve you, to choose quality over quantity. When you show that you have options, even if those options include being happy alone, you become infinitely more attractive than the desperate guy who accepts anything. And here comes a fundamental concept: mental abundance. Most men operate from a place of scarcity. They act as if every woman who shows a minimum of interest is the last woman on earth. This scarcity mindset creates needy, clingy, suffocating behaviors. You know the type, the one who sends 15 messages in a row, who keeps checking if she's seen them, who panics if she takes a long time to respond. Mental abundance is not about being a player who has multiple women. It's about understanding that there are literally billions of women in the world, that there will always be new opportunities, that a rejection is not the end of the world. When you truly embody this mindset, your behavior changes naturally. You become more relaxed, more fun, less attached to the outcome of each interaction. The seventh vital aspect is about the importance of the social circle. Many men try to be lone wolves, thinking they'll attract women by operating alone. But the truth is that having a solid social circle is one of the biggest draws you can have. When a woman sees that you have friends who respect you, that you're part of a community, that people enjoy being around you, it socially validates your worth. In addition, a good social circle provides natural opportunities to meet people. Parties, events, group activities create contexts where interaction flows more naturally than cold approaching in a bar or app. Not to mention that your friends can be your best wingmen, creating favorable situations and speaking well of you in ways you couldn't yourself. But building and maintaining a quality social circle requires investment. It requires you to be a good friend, to add value to people's lives, to organize events, to stay in touch. Many men neglect their friendships when they get into relationships, and this is a serious mistake. Your friendships are your emotional and social safety net. Now let's address a delicate but crucial topic, the issue of appearance and self-care. Yes, personality is more important than appearance, but that doesn't mean that appearance doesn't matter. Taking care of yourself, your hygiene, your style, your physical fitness communicates self-respect. When you present yourself well, you're telling the world that you value yourself. This doesn't mean you need to look like a model or spend a fortune on clothes. It means making the best of what you have. A haircut that suits your face, clothes that fit your body well, a well-groomed beard or a well-shaven face, clean nails, fresh breath. These are basic details that make a huge difference. Self-care goes beyond appearance. It includes taking care of your mental health, your diet, your sleep. When you're good to yourself, it shows in your energy. You become more vibrant, more present, more attractive. And physical exercise, besides improving your appearance, releases endorphins that improve your mood and confidence. The eighth fundamental point is about the art of creating memorable experiences. Most men are predictable. Dinner and a movie, a bar and a club, the same places, the same conversations. But when you stand out by creating unique experiences, you become unforgettable. It doesn't have to be something expensive or elaborate. It could be a picnic in a special place, a class in something different together, exploring a part of the city you don't know. The secret is to think outside the box, consider her interests, create moments that deviate from the traditional script. When you provide experiences that she wouldn't have on her own, you associate yourself with feelings of adventure, discovery, excitement. You become the guy who adds color to her life, not just another generic date. But creating memorable experiences requires creativity and courage. It requires stepping out of your comfort zone, trying new things, being willing to look silly sometimes. The fear of judgment prevents many men from being creative on their dates. They prefer the safe and boring to the risky and exciting. Comment. Hear what the most creative date you've ever had or would like to have was. Your ideas can inspire other men to break out of the ordinary. Let's talk now about emotional intelligence, one of the most underestimated aspects of seduction. The ability to read emotions, both yours and hers, to respond appropriately to different emotional states, to create emotional rapport. Many men are emotionally illiterate, unable to identify or express what they feel, let alone understand what she is feeling. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. You need to understand your own triggers, your emotional patterns, your automatic reactions. When you know your emotional landscape, you can better navigate the emotions of others. You can notice when she's uncomfortable before it's too late, when she's interested even if she doesn't verbalize it, when she needs space even if she doesn't ask for it. Developing emotional intelligence requires conscious practice. It means paying attention to micro-expressions, tone of voice, body language. It means asking questions that go beyond the surface, that explore how she feels about things, not just what she thinks. It means validating emotions without trying to fix them immediately, creating a safe space for mutual vulnerability. The ninth crucial aspect is about timing and calibration. Knowing when to advance and when to retreat, when to speak and when to be silent, when to touch and when to keep your distance. Many men operate in extremes, either being too passive and missing opportunities, or being too aggressive and scaring people away. Mastery lies in reading the signs and responding appropriately. Perfect timing comes from total presence in the moment. When you're truly attentive, not lost in your head thinking about what to say next, you can feel the natural rhythm of the interaction. You notice when she leans in your direction, inviting closeness, when she crosses her arms asking for space, when her eyes sparkle with interest, when her energy changes. Calibration also means adapting your approach to each person and situation. What works with an extroverted woman at a party might be too much for an introvert in a library. What is appropriate on a third date might be premature on the first. Flexibility and sensitivity to context are essential. Now let's talk about something that few men master, the art of verbal seduction. I'm not talking about pickup lines or canned phrases. I'm talking about using words to create images, awaken. Emotions build tension. The way you speak, the rhythm, the tone, the pauses, all of this is as important as what you say. Men underestimate the power of words in creating attraction. They focus on the visual, the physical, forgetting that for many women, seduction happens first in the mind. When you can paint scenarios with words, when your conversation transports her to other places and times, when you awaken her imagination, you're seducing on a much deeper level. But this requires a rich vocabulary, storytelling ability, poetic sensitivity. It requires you to read, to expose yourself to different forms of expression, to practice the art of storytelling in an engaging way. Many men have functional conversations, exchange information, but don't create verbal experiences. The 10th and final fundamental aspect is about sustainability and mutual growth. Seduction doesn't end when you win someone over. In fact, that's where the real work begins. Keeping the attraction alive, continuing to grow together, not letting the relationship fall into monotony. Many men relax after the conquest, stop making an effort, assume the job is done. But relationships are living organisms that need constant nourishment. This means continuing to create new experiences together, maintaining your personal development, not stopping seducing just because you've already won. It means having deep conversations about the future, aligning values and goals, building something bigger than the sum of the parts. Sustainability also requires you to maintain your individual identity. Many men lose themselves in relationships, abandon their hobbies, their friends, their personal goals. They completely merge with their partner and lose what made them attractive in the first place. Maintaining your individuality within the relationship is crucial to maintaining polarity and attraction. We've reached the end of this journey, but in reality, this is only the beginning. Everything I've shared here is tools, insights, directions, but the real transformation happens in action, in daily practice, in the courage to expose yourself to the risk of vulnerability and rejection. Every day is an opportunity to practice presence, authenticity, leadership. Every interaction is a laboratory where you can experiment and learn. True seduction is not about conquering women. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, about developing qualities that naturally attract quality people to your life. It's about building a life so interesting, so full, so vibrant, that others want to be a part of it. It's about growing as a man in every dimension. If this content resonated with you, if you felt you need this transformation in your life, your next step is action. Choose one aspect I mentioned and start working on it today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. It could be improving your posture, starting a conversation with a stranger, signing up for a new activity, anything that gets you out of inertia. Share this video with men who need to hear these truths. Subscribe to the channel to follow the next content where I will delve deeper into each of these topics with practical exercises and real-life examples. Turn on the bell so you don't miss anything. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What will your first step be today?